The Ravens season has been a roller coaster, and if you've been following every twist and turn, you know that there's been plenty of frustration, especially when it comes to the offensive line. One name that keeps coming up, often in a negative light, is Daniel Falle this season. His struggles have been impossible to ignore, and analysts and former players alike have been vocal about it. Shannon Sharpe didn't hold back, laying out some of the harshest criticisms you'll hear about any player. He compared Falle's play to something as ineffective as trying to stir-fry a meal without knowing how to cook. In his eyes, Falle has been a problem, and the conversation around him isn't just about individual performance, it's about the decisions the coaching staff has made and the lack of adjustments that have left the offensive line exposed week after week. Part of the issue goes back to roster construction. The offseason moves, or lack thereof, didn't provide the line with the depth and stability it desperately needed. Critics argue that Eric Nicosta didn't address the guard position effectively, leaving Falle in a position where he's constantly under pressure to perform. Sharpe's commentary reflects that frustration, noting that if Falle is the solution, it's hard to understand what the problem really is, because clearly his performance hasn't been enough to stabilize the line. But it's not just about blame on Falle individually. Every player on the offensive line shares responsibility. Yet the way he's been thrust into action has made him the poster child for the struggles this unit has faced. On top of that, there's the media dynamic, which Falle has had trouble navigating. After a game, when reporters gathered around his locker, he nodded and walked off without answering questions, partly because of league policies about players speaking to the media while not fully dressed. Even so, the optics were not good. Sharpe emphasized that true professionals are gracious in both victory and defeat, and part of that is facing the media even when the day hasn't gone your way. The criticism isn't just about performance on the field, but also about showing accountability in the public eye. Many veterans have stepped up to handle media obligations, leaving rookies and others with less guidance to figure it out on their own. For someone in Falle's position, not engaging with the media, even briefly, only amplifies the scrutiny. Statistically, the numbers tell a story that mirrors the criticism. Falle's pass protection grade has consistently ranked at the bottom of the team, and his run-blocking numbers are similarly concerning, even with backup rotations. The improvement has been marginal, and while some of his line mates have had their ups and downs, the spotlight on Falle has been relentless. Analysts have pointed out that his inability to handle basic blocking responsibilities, sometimes described as not even being able to block the sun out of his own eyes, has overshadowed moments where he performed decently. It's a mix of talent, placement, and coaching, and the ongoing debate centers on whether this is a case of a player being set up to fail, or a talent that simply hasn't met expectations. There's also the broader context of what's happening around the Ravens. The season has been filled with close games, questionable calls, and moments where the team has had to overcome adversity. One of the most talked about incidents was the NFL's admission that a penalty called against the Ravens late in a game was incorrect. That mistake directly impacted the scoreboard and the game's outcome, highlighting how small moments can have massive repercussions. While this doesn't excuse poor play, it underscores the challenges the team has faced and why every misstep, including those on the offensive line, feels magnified. Fans and commentators alike have dissected every angle, from coaching decisions to individual execution, and the discussion about Falle has become a symbol of the frustrations this season has brought. Beyond just stats and criticism, there's the human element to consider. Falle came into the league as a raw player with promise, initially drafted with potential in mind. Moving him from tackle to guard was always going to be a challenging transition, and it's clear that the development timeline hasn't matched the expectations placed on him. Coaches have continued to play him despite these struggles, which has prompted questions about decision-making at the highest level. Some argue that the team should have rotated more players, or tried different combinations to see what works. But the continuity or lack thereof on the offensive line has been a sticking point. Every missed block, every failed assignment, adds to the narrative that the line as a whole has underperformed, with Falle at the center of the discussion. Sharpe's commentary didn't hold back either, and it reflected a sentiment that many feel when watching these games unfold. His critiques were sharp, bordering on brutal, but they captured the frustration of watching a player struggle in a critical role week after week. The way Falle's performance has been dissected shows how high the stakes are in the NFL. Every snap is analyzed, every failure magnified, And in a league where games can be won or lost by a single play, the pressure is immense. For the Ravens, it's not just about one player, it's about the collective responsibility of the line, the coaching staff, and how each decision on game day impacts the entire offense. What makes this situation even more challenging is that it's not isolated. The Ravens have had several games where offensive line play has been a determining factor in the outcome. Running lanes that fail to open, quarterbacks under constant pressure, and drives that stall have been recurring themes. Falle, unfortunately, has become the focal point of these failures. The combination of high expectations, lack of consistent development, and being put in positions that test his abilities beyond his current level has created a perfect storm of criticism, and while some of it is warranted based on performance, it also highlights the complexity of evaluating a player within the context of a struggling unit and the pressure cooker environment of the NFL. It's clear that both on and off the field, Falle's journey this season has been a tough one, from facing national attention for his mistakes to navigating media expectations. The challenges are multifaceted. Analysts like Sharp haven't held back in pointing out flaws, but their commentary also emphasizes what it takes to succeed at this level: accountability, adaptability, and resilience. For Falle and the Ravens, the conversation isn't just about a single game or a single snap. It's about how the team moves forward, addresses weaknesses, and supports players in key positions. The offensive line, historically a cornerstone of successful teams, remains a critical point of discussion, and the spotlight on Falle is as much about broader team dynamics as it is about individual performance. Even with all the criticism and tough talk, there's a sense that potential remains. Falle's size and raw ability are undeniable, but translating that into consistent NFL performance has proven challenging. The combination of coaching decisions, positional adjustments, and in-game execution has defined his season so far, and the ongoing debates around his play reflect just how visible and scrutinized the offensive line is in high-stakes football. The Ravens' journey this season, from close calls to national attention on pivotal mistakes, underscores how every decision and every player matters. Falle's story is a lens through which we see not just individual struggle, but the complexities of building and sustaining a successful team. In one of the most competitive environments in sports, the Ravens' struggles this season have not been limited to the offensive line, though that has certainly been the most visible point of concern. The team has faced challenges at multiple levels, from in-game execution to coaching decisions, and even the officiating has played a role in shaping outcomes. One of the most talked about incidents came in their recent matchup against the Steelers, where a penalty called against the Ravens was later admitted by the NFL to have been incorrect. That unnecessary roughness call against Travis Jones was pivotal, directly impacting the flow of the game and ultimately influencing the scoreboard. In a sport where every point matters, a 4-point swing is monumental. The Ravens could have maintained possession, set up a field goal, and potentially changed the outcome of the game, but instead, they were forced to navigate a situation compounded by an officiating error. It's a reminder of how much pressure NFL teams operate under and how thin the margin for error truly is. John Harbaugh spoke with reporters following the game, trying to clarify the team's perspective while navigating league protocols that limit exactly what can be said. He made it clear that while the officiating mistake was acknowledged by the NFL, it didn't erase the need for the Ravens to execute better during the game. Fans, analysts, and commentators all debated the impact, some focusing on the call itself, others emphasizing that the team should have performed well enough that a single questionable call wouldn't have changed the outcome. This dichotomy is part of what makes following the Ravens so engaging and frustrating. The team's talent and potential are evident, but repeated missteps, both self-inflicted and externally influenced, have kept them from converting potential into consistent wins. The Isaiah Likely touchdown situation became another focal point of discussion. The catch and subsequent debate over whether the play was valid exemplified the NFL's sometimes opaque review process. Harbaugh indicated that the league's explanation didn't fully clarify the ruling, highlighting the ongoing challenge teams face when rules interpretation and enforcement feel inconsistent. While the officials' decisions are part of the game, the Ravens' players and coaching staff are left to adapt, respond, and continue competing at a high level despite confusion or controversy. These moments can affect morale, momentum, and ultimately the rhythm of a game, adding layers of difficulty to an already high-pressure environment. The larger issue, however, remains how the Ravens handle adversity collectively. When mistakes happen, whether from a player, a referee, or a strategic decision, the team's ability to regroup is tested. The offensive line struggles, particularly at guard with Falle, illustrate this perfectly. While criticism is deserved, it's the response that ultimately defines a team's trajectory. Some of the veterans have stepped up, engaging with media and taking responsibility in moments of defeat, showing leadership that sets the tone for younger players when others falter. However, the spotlight inevitably shines brighter, magnifying missteps and fueling narratives that dominate national coverage. For Falle, the pressure has been intense, and the criticism from analysts like Shannon Sharpe reflects how visible and high-stakes the position is. But the broader lesson for the Ravens is that individual performance cannot be evaluated in isolation. It's intertwined with coaching, strategy, and collective execution throughout the season. The Ravens' offensive identity has been inconsistent. There are flashes of brilliance, drives that showcase the team's talent and preparation, but those are too often overshadowed by breakdowns in protection, miscommunications, or questionable play calling. Each of these elements compounds when games are close, especially in the second half when adjustments and in-game intelligence are tested. Analysts have noted that Falle's position switch from tackle to guard may have accelerated some of the struggles, as he was a raw player coming into the league, expected to adapt rapidly to a complex and demanding role. That adaptation hasn't happened as quickly as the team had hoped, and the consequences have been visible in both statistics and game outcomes. Pass blocking grades, run block efficiency, and missed assignments have all contributed to drive stalling and quarterbacks facing relentless pressure. Yet it's not just Falle. The entire line has had to absorb criticism and blame, and the coaching staff's decisions on player deployment have been central to ongoing debates about accountability and development. The Ravens' offensive line challenges also underscore the delicate balance between potential and execution. In the NFL, teams often draft based on size, athleticism, and upside, but those traits alone do not translate into success without the right environment, coaching, and support. Falle's size and raw talent were undeniable at the time of the draft, but the team's choice to accelerate his transition to guard has arguably hindered both his development and the offensive stability. Analysts argue that alternative rotations or more gradual integration could have mitigated the struggles, giving the team a more balanced approach while allowing Falle to grow into the role. Instead, repeated exposure in high-pressure situations has amplified every mistake, creating a feedback loop where criticism and expectation collide. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. Whispers are echoing through league circles after a sudden burst of reports claiming that not one, but two major stars have quietly put pen to paper with the Baltimore Ravens. According to insiders cited by ESPN, the deals were finalized behind closed doors, catching even well-connected analysts off guard. No official announcement has surfaced yet, but the chatter suggests the franchise moved with unusual speed, leaving rival teams scrambling for clarification. The rumor mill ignited as soon as a pair of agents were spotted entering the Ravens facility, under what sources called unexpected circumstances. Minutes later, speculation exploded across social platforms, with fans attempting to decode cryptic posts from players, coaches, and even the team's own media channels. While names remain unconfirmed, insiders insist the additions include one offensive playmaker and a high-profile defensive leader, both considered difference makers capable of shifting the balance of power in the conference. What makes the situation even more intriguing are reports that the negotiations were completed well ahead of the usual timetable. Some believe the front office acted aggressively to address recent concerns about depth and consistency, while others suggest the moves are part of a broader strategy to build around the team's core before contract pressures escalate. Whatever the motive, the timing has fueled a rush of speculation that the Ravens are preparing to unveil a bold, revamped identity around the league. Executives are said to be stunned. A few rival scouts have reportedly expressed frustration, hinting that they were pursuing the same players before Baltimore swooped in. Meanwhile, fans are buzzing with theories, from blockbuster-level signings to unexpected veteran rivals seeking a late-career resurgence. Until official confirmation arrives, all that remains is a growing cloud of anticipation hovering over Baltimore. But if these rumors hold any truth, The Ravens may have just pulled off one of the most dramatic double signings in recent memory. Seismic enough to shake the entire season before it even starts. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.